All right, here we are in the eternal now. And I remember talking with Jacob about some of the upcoming guests coming up. And he was saying, why don't Jeffrey and I come on and we could talk about the training we're doing with you and, the training for coaching and breath work and retreat facilitation and share some things that we've discovered and realizations. And I said, I think that's a great idea. So here we are. I want to just quick before we go dive in deeper, just mention the September retreat, September 5th to the 7th, the Big Glow Digital Detox and Breathwork Retreat in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Most of the people, if not all of the people that are on here live, will be there, and a lot of them will be um, leading little things here and there, and being a part of this retreat in a more co-creative way. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited to just be off the the metaphorical grid, be off the cell phone, the smartphones, the laptops, the screen together for 3 days, and just be in the beauty of nature in the mountains and be able to dive in deep together. I think it's going to be something that we're going to like see as a pivotal point in our lives, looking back. So, um, anybody that feels called to join us, love to have you join us. And also, I've been doing this 6 month training. I never really felt like there was people that could carry the torch, so to speak, with what I was sharing, and really kind of like got it, to really kind of be able to share that with others as well. And so, but that's the intention, right? And so I feel really grateful that Jacob and Jeff um, had this residence with me where we're doing this 6 month training now in the Big Low coaching, Big Low breath work, and the Big Low retreat facilitation. And it's been awesome. We've been meeting every Wednesday night on Zoom after the men's mastermind group. And yeah, so they're going to kind of share, I think, their journey and their story. There's two really inspiring stories. If you've tuned into some of the other episodes, you might have heard a little bit of it in the past, but just stories of profound transformation in both of their lives. And I mean, I think their stories alone inspire. And that's the thing that I think they're discovering and working with people because now they're working as coaches, right? So they have the clients, and you see the client make the transformation, and it gives you inspiration of what's possible as for a human being. Because we just get this idea, we see somebody, and we just think like, oh, that's all they're going to be. We just, but that's not all they're going to be. No one is static. There's no stagnancy in any human being. Every human being is in motion, is in movement. It's kind of like in quantum physics, like is it the particle or is it the wave, right? So we tend to see the particle of like, oh, this is just some stagnant thing, then, but actually it's a wave. It's something you're catching somebody in motion, and if somebody's on a path of spiritual evolution and spiritual growth, then you're catching them on a path of ascension, right? Now that may look like challenging. It may look like um, moments of pain or moments of sadness or moments of confusion, but the general path is onward and upward. The general path is into communion with God. The general path is one of self-actualization and self-realization. And the more we step into self-actualization and self-realization, the more we're able to share that with others. So it's not so much about the right words to use or the right things to say. I mean, that's part of it, but the primary thing is being that vibrational resonance, being that consciousness, and being able to emanate that out just with your presence, being the living embodiment of what's possible, and dedicating yourself to that every day and committing yourself to that every day. And if you're dedicating yourself to it every day and you're committing yourself to it every day, then when you're working with somebody, then they're like, well, shit, I better step up, if I'm gonna hang with this coach. So, so anyway, I've been really inspired by working with them. as clients and inspired to be doing this training with them and their dedication to bettering themselves and bettering others. So one of the things we talk about too is just like, what is this really about? And if you go to the kind of core of what it's really about, it's really the core of what our lives in themselves are about, which is love. It's to be a beacon of love. It's to be of service to others. It's to be a healing presence, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so, yeah, welcome, Jacob and Jeff.
Thank
And
you.
let's start with you, Jacob, and then we'll go to Jeff second.
Okay. Jacob here. I know everybody on the screen. Um, I think many of you guys know my story. Started 30, gosh, I'm 39. Yeah, I think I turned 39 this year. So started a long time ago. And little did I know the hell that I would create for myself, just living unconsciously, basically, and not aware uh, of my surroundings, not aware of my actions and reactions, and not consciously choosing or making decisions in my life. And basically, I think that's the shape that a lot of folks are in these days. Is just having the wrong priorities. Just started reading a book called The Kingdom Principles. And the author is talking about, we all live by these priorities, and many people are living with the wrong priorities and not even aware of their purpose here. They're just totally lost in a priority that is not taking you uh, towards the kingdom, which is, I think our ultimate goal here as humans is to live in that experience of God's kingdom. And the Bible talks a lot about it. And I'm just learning this stuff about it. And so my spiritual journey just began about 6 years ago, maybe a little before, when I started working with Brian. And just real quickly, I'll go over kind of the state I was in back then. I was on into about a nearly a decade's long addiction to opiates, and was on 160 milligrams of methadone, and basically really sick, like on the verge of what I didn't want to live anymore. Like I was just done living. I was so sick. And it was time to either die or and end the suffering or to come out of it. And fortunately, it's such a blessing to uh, be able to come out of that hell that I created for myself. And, a lot of people don't make it out of that hell. And so I have a lot of gratitude. And like just a simple breath is such a gift and a blessing. And I think that was part of my journey here, part of becoming who I am today. It was necessary, all those things. And it's like, this didn't literally happen, but basically it's like I got a knock on my soul's awareness. And it was like, okay, you've suffered long enough. It's time to come on out and learn what you're here to do. Learn what all this stuff was about. Learn what all this suffering was about.
Jacob, let's
Uh,
let's touch on one thing here because I think your story is a common thread, which is this kind of rock bottom moment.
mm, hmm
So I find like with you, like and me in a different way earlier in my life, people hit this moment where they feel like they just can't go on like this anymore, you know? So I think we mentioned this last week, like the breakdown can be the breakthrough, right? And so, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there for anybody that's listening that feels like they're in that state or they're near that state. Like it may seem like you're so far away, but you're actually so close, because it's like the ego wants to try to stay in control. The ego wants to try to thinks it basically it's rooted in fear and anxiety, right? And this kind of need to like, even though it's not working, to kind of maintain that illusion of control and the fear of letting go And that's where the spiritual component comes in, the indication of God, because it's like, well, let go to who? Let go to what? And if you can connect to that higher field of intelligence that you can just let go and surrender to, then that's where everything opens up. But a lot of us were stubborn. We got to hit rock bottom to actually like have that moment of just absolute humility and vulnerability to be permeated in that way. So
Yeah, thanks
yeah,
for bringing that up.
yeah,
I wouldn't, the way I see it, I wouldn't have what I have now without that.
right.
There's no other way here for me in my individual experience. And when I started the downward trajectory, it's interesting because I just lost my cousin to an overdose, who had struggled with drugs most of his life. And that's when my journey into addiction and abusing drugs really began. And I would ask myself, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why? Why am I doing this? Like, sure, and everybody else in my family and people around me. And it's like I had a feeling or a sense within me that I just had to like go and experience this. I didn't know why, it's all divine. It's God knew from that moment, this was my path and this was my journey to find this side of myself. And so a lot of gratitude for all that darkness that showed me this light that I have potential to be. And then, came in contact with Brian shortly after I started feeling this pull to come out. And I was involved in some groups on Facebook and, some like awakening and some spiritual kind of groups. And Brian did a podcast with one of the guys, and I immediately reached out to Brian, and over the course of several months ended up making it in to see him, actually in August 2019. And a lot of gratitude for Brian being able to see me past, see my potential through where I was at in the current moment, because he reached out to me several times. It was hard for me to make a commitment. I didn't have money. I didn't have I was just really sick, and it was really hard for me to commit to um, making a different choice and bettering my life. And I was thinking about it the other day, like, man, that was so tough. I remember a day when I didn't think I would ever be off methadone just because I had tried it before and, would struggle so bad, and I would go right back up. And it's like I was in for like 5 years, a little over 5 years on methadone.
And it's known
And
it's known to have massive withdrawals, right? Like super
oh,
intense withdrawals.
when I came off, yeah, it was, I wanted it beyond anything else. It was my number one goal, um, was to be dependent free off of anything and just free, just to experience freedom. And I tapered down for 10 months, and then got to a point where I was at 8 milligrams, and I was suffering from the withdrawals pretty bad. But I was craving this other side of that. And so I was like, well, if I'm suffering this bad, I'll just go to 4. So I went to 4, and it was really bad. And I'm like, well, if it's this bad, it can't get any worse. So I'll just go to 0 and just cut it off quick.
And then
And
it
so
was
I did
really, really
that.
bad.
it was it was really, really bad. So I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. I couldn't sit still. It's like every cell in my body was screaming and agonizing, like torture, just hell. Um,
And don't
there's
they
there's
doesn't the medical establishment just assume that you're going to be on that for life when you're on it? Because I remember they didn't really want you
I mean, I
to.
think that's the, I mean, I was the, no, I think you're cutting out a little bit, but they told me that it would take over 3 years for me to taper off. And the place you're in mentally, um, and physically dependent on this stuff, 3 years is impossible for anybody in that shape to think about. Like I couldn't start a 3 year journey. I couldn't start a 3 month journey. Like there's no way I could commit to 3 years. And so it's almost like an impossibility. And they portray it as that. And it's,
Yeah,
by the grace of God that I made it out.
I remember you saying your doctor was discouraging you from wanting to do that, wanting to get off it.
Yeah, they actually encourage you to increase. That's how I
Yeah.
got to 160 milligrams. I started at like 20 or 30 milligrams, and within a few years, was at 160. Because they're constantly, asking you, telling you if you need to go up. They're just encouraging it. And an addict in that mindset, of course, is going to take more. So it's really creating, something huge and horrible. And I still feel like there's a place for me there, like to help people. I don't know if it's speaking or um, just showing up. And I remember when I actually went to zero and came off, some of the counselors in the clinic that I was in were like really excited for me, and I was talking to them, about wanting to help everybody, and they were blown away. I was the second person in a decade to come off of this stuff at this clinic. So they're, it's very rare, and they're like blown away. They're like, "Wow, Jacob found something." Like, so they talked to me then about coming back and speaking and trying to inspire people because, I think the counselors, I think the people doing it are really like good people, the people that are working there, and I think they think they're helping people just like many the doctors today, and people prescribing all the things and making all the food in boxes and packages and making it less expensive and easier access. And I think all this stuff is done with good intentions, but like the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So they're just kind of unaware of the what it's actually creating. And it's by the grace of God that I made it out. And I really feel like it was divine. I'm here for a purpose, and I'm supposed to I'm supposed to learn how to prioritize my life in order to live my purpose and realize the kingdom of heaven here on earth, and to be a light, a reflection of that, so that other people can see that and realize that they have a choice. And, we can wake up and we can start setting our priorities and really living intentionally. And so that's why I'm doing this coaching with Brian. And him and I think we've been talking about it for years, several years. When I started getting, when, when all this, I don't know, the magic of this place, the divinity, God, the creation, when all that stuff like started really clicking with me, and I started having these awakenings and these realizations, and um, basically guidance from God. When I started really opening up and waking up to that, it was obvious that this is what I'm here to do, is to help other people. And so grateful to be um, in the training program. Will called it being trained in the way, I think, back when we started this journey a few months ago. And it's like um, it's not like many of the things that I've experienced, I haven't experienced from like reading in a book or hearing from somebody. It's been like a real personal experience, something that comes through just in an experience. Like right now, I'm having an experience with a new experience over the past few months. It started in my morning practice with breathing and just authentic movement, moving my body where my body wants to go and needs to go, and breathing. And I had this experience a few months ago, and it was just one time, and it was like, wow, like it's like I was fully present. I've come to the realization that that I'm becoming fully present with the present moment, and there's no past and there's no future and there's nothing else but right now. And I'm breathing, and it's like, wow, a breath. Like this is what a breath is. This is amazing. The satisfaction of the oxygen coming into my lungs and like supplying my cells and my body. And then I feel a stretch, and it's like, oh wow, this is what a human body feels like. This is amazing. And it's like happening from a place of um we talk about linear time, and there no being no time, the illusion of time. And so if that's the case, then It's all right now. So the time before existence is now. Now, me, Jacob, this body, this experience is now. The time after is now. And like, it's a gift that I just stumbled upon in my morning practice, like by breathing and stretching and moving and really just finding connection with the present. And that's where God is.
And that's the interesting inquiry too. Like it feels like you stumbled upon it, but then
Yeah, right.
right, somebody it was like that. I was reading this article about this NBA All-Star basketball player, and they're like, I guess he was missing some shots in the beginning of the game that he made like a bunch in a row, and they're like, "How'd you do that?" And he was like, "It was just luck." And they looked at the guy and he started laughing, like he knew he was playing him.
I've been
So
training, right?
yeah,
It's the
exactly,
things I've been doing.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. Yeah,
It,
when you're dedicated, day after day after day, then yeah, then you're accessible these
right.
realms. And I want to comment on something else you said too, because I think it's really important. Like the real goal of this work, if you like, what's the bottom line goal of this work? It's to have a direct relationship, to have a direct relationship, to be spiritually guided from within, right? So have that direct relationship with God, to be spiritually guided from within. So somebody said the other day to me, like, you're like the midwife, right? Which is kind of a good metaphor. So it's like the coach is like there to support, but ultimately the client is coming into communion, where they're accessing through quieting their mind, through opening their heart, through connecting to their body. They're more and more to be able to access that guidance within themselves, and then the coach in our work, not to say every coach, but in our work, we're just there to reflect that, be that mirror to reflect that truth back to themselves, to help them to come in connection with that. Whereas other work, it's like, unfortunately, there's other work where people, it's like taking them away from their inner truth.
Mhm.
Fortunately, religion does this at times, different coaching stuff, whatever self-help stuff can take you away from, but we're all about like bringing you into, first of all, the acknowledgement that connection is within you and supporting you to connect to it, more and more.
Yeah.
So anyway, I say that to say like what you're experiencing in that morning practice is really like that's the ultimate goal.
Right. And one thing, I've said this before and I've realized this a lot in working with Brian is the gratitude that I have that he didn't like tell me even times I've made mistakes and done things that have created drama or something in my life and he hasn't told me, well, you probably shouldn't do that. He's asked me questions and kind of led me to figuring out on my own instead of telling me well, this is how it is and this is how things happen and this is how everything works. I've been able to experience that on my own in my unique way. And that's just amazing. Having somebody that's not like, because I find myself doing it to people that are close to me. It's like telling them, well, because I'm standing back here and I see what's going on over there, and I can tell you, like, well, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing this, and that's something easy for all of us to do is see where somebody's at and be able to have a different perspective and say, well, you could do this and that, and you could, um, but that's not really like the way
Yeah,
because,
let's go into
yeah,
that. I think that's
yeah.
really valuable. So I'll just give a made up example. So let's say someone goes out and gets like, smashed drunk last night, and so you have a session with them. So you go and say, hey, you shouldn't do that. But they probably already know they shouldn't do that, right? So that's not really
Right.
helpful. So what we want to do is we want to inquire in, like, okay, well, why did you do that? What was the motivation? What were you getting out of it? What you, like, so basically through the process of inquiry and being present, you're helping that person, if they're interested, which if they're doing such that they are interested, you're helping them to become more self-aware, right? And the more we become self-aware, the more we become conscious, the more we'll make conscious choices from a place of greater awareness. And that's really all it comes down to in like every area of your life. you know?
Yeah. So yeah, that's here we are. Here I am. Stepping into, a life of like full priority. And the priority is like living my true purpose. And it says in the Bible, seek first the kingdom, and then all else is given. Like the birds don't sow and harvest their food, but God supplies it. And um,
We need
I
Mark here
think,
to read that out. Where's
yeah,
Pastor
yeah,
He
Mark? He'll
he
get that
was
verbatim for us.
yeah, he was highly disappointed he could not make it tonight. But
oh man,
yeah,
yep.
he had prior engagements that he had to be part of.
Okay, well, he can
Good thing
catch
is
the,
we're recording it, so
yeah,
Yeah.
he'll be able to tune in.
yeah. Um, yeah, so that's, we all live a life by our priorities. And it's like, where are our priorities at, and what are we doing with our life? And uh I've transitioned and transformed so much from living in hell and experiencing hell here on earth to like leaning towards and walking into this heaven on earth. And I don't want that to sound delusional or something. Like, there's still obviously sadness and pain and traumas. And I just had an experience the other night that was just horrible. And we still have that, but it's like, what am I choosing? Who am I choosing to be around? What am I filling my space with? What am I taking in? What am I eating through my ears, my eyes, my skin, my mouth, um, my breath, my lungs, and really just returning back to like just being a simple human. And I think from that place, I think life was intended to be simple. And, for however it happened, here we are in this chaos of distraction. And it just seems to be pulling, it's very small percentage of people that are having an experience similar to me. And I um I would love to share this. Like why wouldn't we all uh, just live in this in a better experience? This is a beautiful place. I mean, the water, the sights, the trees, the colors, the sky, the clouds, the people, the connection, the hugs, the conversations, the lack of conversations, the um, swimming, sunbathing, soaking in the sun, rolling in the sand. Like, I'm a beach bum. I was just at the beach for a week and I just lay straight in the sand. I don't even lay a towel down. I just lay in the sand and roll over and then go jump in the water and come back and do it again all day for a week straight. And like, what a blessing. Like, this is such a place to be enjoyed, and drinking and eating all the good foods. Um, and coming here to be here now from what I came from, I realize that it's such a blessing and it's such a gift. And so many people are just overlooking, just looking up at the clouds. I know I've seen movies. I was thinking about this the other day. I love looking at the clouds and seeing the lines and the designs, and it looks so mystical and magic. And it's like I've seen movies where they show clouds and it's captivated me. Like watching the movie, you see these clouds and it's like, oh wow, like a wonderland or something. I don't know, like a miracle. It looks like a miracle on TV, but just I remember like when clouds weren't that interesting to me. Like, it was just a cloud in the sky. I didn't even really like look up and see them. But the movie was able to make it dramatic, like, and now it's like I look up and it's like, wow, so dramatic. Like, wow, these clouds, the shapes and all the different lights and the reflections and shadows and um
And that comes
yeah,
from being present.
yeah, so it's just such a miracle and a gift to be here, to be in this experience, like with all these senses. And I am just
It seems
so eternally
to me
grateful.
it feels like the fact the fact, how do I say this? The fact that it's a miracle is a fact. That's not the best way to say it, but the fact that it's a miracle is a fact. And
Yeah,
then we, or maybe we could say the fact that it's a miracle is the truth. And then the more we kind of cleanse the the stuff, we clear out the debris inside ourselves, we're just able to be present and see the truth, which is life is a
experience the
miracle.
miracle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you said a couple of things that I thought were interesting. Like one is about becoming a simple human being, right? So it's interesting how like a lot of people will think of simple as a negative thing. Like if you say like I'm just simple, you
That's the
know,
culture, right?
yeah, they might think that
Mhm.
you're dumb or you're stupid or something. But I can't remember who said it, but there was some mystic who after he had his like great like awakening, they asked him like what happened, and he said, I have been made simple, right? Which I love, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like the simplicity of just being present and here. And if you could be really fully present and here, well, everything's happening here, you know? So you will receive the miracle and you will partake in the miracle and you will be co-creating the miracle, in your interactions with others.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. And then the second thing is the methadone. So this seems like this is something that could be really useful for a lot of people as well, because people have this idea that, which is understandable. I mean, I had this idea that if you're, and this is really important for like the coaching client relationship, right? Because people have this idea like if you're going on this path of self-realization and self-actualization and self-improvement, you're just gonna feel better and better, and that's just how it's gonna be, you know. But in this case, it's interesting because it's like a very tangible, practical case of like, in order to feel better, I got to go into something that's gonna feel really painful, right? And you had to go. The reason it's painful is because you had to break through that addiction. And so that's a physical addiction, but then people have emotional addictions, they have psychological addictions, they have physical addictions, and they have a combination of all those things, right? And so I think that's something that people should know and understand is like when you go on this journey, it could feel worse. And I think probably people do know that, which is why they try to avoid going on the journey. Because
Absolutely.
subconsciously they know, like,
Yep.
I don't want to feel worse. But you could feel worse. It's almost like you're going through like some kind of like fiery thing, like a fiery gate, and you go through that and you get to the other side. Um, that movie, Shawshank Redemption, have you guys seen that? Where he
Oh
has to
yeah.
he breaks out of prison
Yep.
and he has to crawl through whatever several hundred yards of piss and shit, and
Yep.
then he comes out the other side and he's free.
Yep.
I think it's like that. That's a great metaphor,
Yep.
right? And so as long as you can have the perspective of someone to support you to realize, because people will get kind of be in the moment and be like, no, just remember where you're going, remember the larger perspective. You know, there's as the saying goes, light on the other side of the tunnel.
So one thing I wanted to mention that I didn't was I never knew how long the withdrawals were going to last. And then, it was 2 weeks. And then finally, I was able to sleep a little bit. And then, a month went by and they're still here. And then 3 months, and then 6 months, and then a year. And it's like, oh my God. Like when I was like 3 months in, I was like, geez, like this still isn't letting up. Like what? How long is this going to go on? And so I suffered from like subtle physical withdrawals for a year and a half after going to zero. And like it never deterred me. It never stopped me. I was just like a rocket going straight up. I had yeah, I would love to like dive deeper into that within myself. And I think I just um yeah, I guess I just wanted the freedom so bad, and I got a taste of it when I remember when I started um, coming off methadone 5-10 milligrams at a time. I was in a mastermind with Robin, actually. She was there, and I would start feeling these subtle withdrawals, and I would start gaining a little bit of clarity in my head. I would start feeling a little bit because such a daze and a foggy cloud that I was in. And so the more that I got that, I would get hot flashes and the jitters and all the stuff. But it's like, man, I started getting clear and I could see um, myself again. And so I started craving that. And um, that's what I think like just kept pulling me through. That kept building momentum like a snowball. And carried me all the way through. And here I am. That was February 21st, 2021. So 4.5 years now. Um, and it's a blessing to be here. And I look forward to, just continuing on and growing. And one of my main things is like not knowing, staying in a place where I don't know. Like I have this conversation a lot. Like, um, people are so sure about things, and especially like things written in the Bible and things that traditions and religions, and like this is the way it is, and it's in the book. And um, then you're locked down. You're closed off to like an infinite God. Like if you really consider what this miracle is that we're experiencing, and this is just one Earth. This is one little tiny place blip in the universe, and the light that we see is only a fraction of the light that exists. And if this is possible, just the fact that this is possible. We're living, breathing, eating humans that process food and make babies, and trees grow in the. It's if this is possible, and God created this, then there's nothing that's not possible. Like Christ came and told the Pharisees in the church he's healing in the synagogue on Sunday, and they're like, no, you can't do that. That's against the law. And Jesus is like, what are you talking about? Like, this is God we're talking about. Like, there's no limits. Like, you can't put limits. And so it's my prayer to stay in this place of unknown and stay open to any any potential infinite miracle or possibility.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, why don't you come in and share some of your journey with us?
Yeah, so my journey is similar to Jacob's in that it started in addiction. But mine was an alcohol addiction. I had started drinking in high school. Probably I think I was about 16 years old, and it was all fun and games at that time. And then I joined the military. Um, not just because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, had no real direction of where I wanted to go. So the military was just an easy option. And then went overseas, went to Iraq, um, came back, and the drinking became more of like an escape, and became just super. I mean, I was drinking every single night to blackout, passing out, drinking for 3, 4 days at a time. And I was just super depressed all the time, just in a really, really dark place. I even remember being on the phone with a VA suicide hotline at one point, and just terrible place. And eventually, I went to the VA mental health and started talking to them. They diagnosed me with PTSD, and that was enough that I was like, I guess I had been running from it all along, like not acknowledging that there might be a problem. And that was enough for me to say, whoa, like I need to do something about this, get my life back. So I tried to stop drinking, which lasted a year and a half, couple years, was never really successful. Um, and then I began like to feel like a draw of there's something more important in my life. And at the time I didn't know what that was. Like I'm here for a reason. That's all that I could feel. And that was enough to like start really like doing a lot of self-care, a lot of self love like basically taking care of myself, and then at that point I was able to give up alcohol, and a little bit after that is when I ran into you, Brian, and it was like perfect timing because I had a pretty powerful breathwork session with Brian, my very first time meeting him. I had no idea who he was, and it was like that breathwork session just set me on this course of seeking. Um, and so I began seeking the truth with Brian as my coach, which I'm extremely grateful for. And yeah, now I'm here. It's been a wonderful journey. It's been crazy. It's been wild.
He's been making some incredible
Yeah,
shifts in his life. He's
yep,
got a beautiful woman in his life now who
I
I
do.
think is on the call with us, I believe. I'm on a different screen right now, but is Regina
She
here?
she's here. Yeah,
Okay. So Regina, and then he's got a big, beautiful house that he's about to step into
yep.
and let go of a job that
That
wasn't
was
serving him anymore,
yeah, was
and
not.
stepping into this work now.
Yep.
Also, started going to the gym, started transforming your
Yeah.
body. So we have 10 different areas. So we have spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, work or purpose, financial, community, relationship, family, and home. I believe those are the 10. And yeah, I mean, I think you've hit all 10 areas and just
Just been going
transformation
at it.
in all the areas. So that's just inspiring to be around someone that's making those changes and transformations, and it inspires others to that it's possible for them and to make those changes for themselves as well. But yeah, Jacob and Jeff are both two guys that just they see the the issue, and they just have this impetus to address it, and they see what's possible for themselves, and they just take the action, consistently on a day-to-day basis, and invest the time and invest the energy, and now supporting other people to do the same. So yeah, it's been a really amazing. So that's all happened in like how many years now? Two, three?
2 years. Yeah, 2 years because I am 3 years sober at the beginning of July. So yeah, it's been 2 years because it was about a year when I first met you. So yeah,
What's
that's crazy to think of where I
yeah.
where I was and where I'm at
What's
now.
interesting too is the physical transformation that accompanies the psychological transformation and the emotional transformation, the spiritual
Hmm.
transformation, right?
Yeah.
So both Jeff and Jacob, they look totally different. And yeah, I actually saw some old pictures because I was looking for pictures of you guys yesterday. So I actually saw some old pictures of Jacob, and it's like unrecognizable. Like you wouldn't even know it's the same person, you know. And Jeff's transformed. Lisa's on the call. She's been making real transformations, physically on her journey. So it's really interesting how like people will just because it's like when people think of their body, they want to go to these like superficial changes right away, like cosmetic surgery or take some drug that makes you forces you to lose weight that has a bunch of side effects. But like if you just make these changes in your life, it will change your physical appearance too, in the way that your God designed you to
Hmm.
to look, right? It's not an ego thing of like it's not a vanity thing. It's just there's like a light that shines through you that wasn't able to shine through before.
Yeah.
It's
So
true. I feel better.
now I can see everybody. So okay, so if anybody has anything they'd like to contribute to the conversation, you're invited to share.
What
Robin
would
had
you?
asked,
Oh, yeah, there was that question too, but what advice would you give to somebody who is considering getting sober, for both of you?
I would say let's
Ye-
go. Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah,
The
Can
sooner the
I actually say
better.
something first?
Yeah.
The thing that I think is really important that doesn't usually get talked about is the the addiction is being used to mask a pain that's being avoided, probably emotional pain, right? So I think that's the thing that's interesting, like when we talk about Jacob's journey but really for everybody is like there's this idea that emotions are bad, like painful emotions are bad and they shouldn't exist and it's wrong, so I think this is kind of that deeper spiritual connection of like, no, nothing's bad. Like, and I can hear Pastor Mark being like, what do you mean nothing's bad? What I mean is like when you have a feeling, it's like there to help you or support you, right? So it's not the feeling isn't bad. The feeling is there to help you support you. So there's like, emotional pain that we experience and we think it's bad and we shouldn't have it. So we try to avoid it and try to numb it and try to escape it. And I think there's this process of facing it and realizing that it's actually there for you to support you to grow and evolve and awaken in your consciousness. And I think if you just start to realize that, that's a great starting point, So I just wanted to put that part in there.
Mm. Yeah. I think to add to that, Brian, and I think like looking back on my journey, um, it was like really realizing like a sort of self-love for myself was very transformational for me. Like getting out of that mindset, that victim mindset of, everything's happening to me, and kind of realizing that I create my reality, although I didn't realize that at the time. But it was doing just little things. Like one thing that I did was start walking every day. I started woodworking, um, and just doing things so that I felt better about myself, I guess. And that was the stepping stone to the rest of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think that's a really great point too, because people will get a sense of like a sense of low self-worth. Let's just
Yeah,
call it that, like low
exactly.
self-worth, like kind of like a self-loathing. And then when you get in that state, and there's this, and that could come from religious stuff, that could come from all kinds of variety of things, right? I don't think it's the actual true religious orientation, but this is the way it gets communicated and gets understood. So there's this sense of like low self-worth, and then you think you're like a piece of shit, right? So then it's like, well, then I should do things that a piece of shit does, and I should be treated the way a piece of shit's treated, and I should be talked to that way, and I should, so it's like you get this whole everything that your experiences come from who you think you are in that place, but you don't realize it,
No,
you
you
know?
don't, you're
Mhm.
not thinking that.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
how it's,
So then
yeah.
it gets reinforced of like, well, this world is so horrible and terrible, and look at all these horrible people and the way they speak to me and the way they treat me, and then you don't realize that you're resonant with those people relating with you in that way.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think if you can access that self-love, right, then that will make all the difference. Shift out of the low self-worth into that space of self-love. And again, to me, the root of that is spiritual. So
Mhm.
it's like you're loved exactly as you are, and it's not, you don't have to do anything to be loved. The being, there's the fullness of love in the being that transcends what you do or don't do.
Yeah, I've been noticing in my Course in Miracle lessons. It's funny, I've been on a spiritual path for like my whole life, but it's weird how you can suddenly get a new vision. Like Course in Miracles says, the whole transformation of the world starts with you seeing yourself as you truly are. And I know that I've fought so much of my life thinking, well, I'm a pretty good person because I did this and that and that. Oh, but there was that time I did that. That was really bad. And so it was hard for me to think of myself as holy. because I was thinking of my lifespan and my human existence. But in Course in Miracles, they say it doesn't have anything to do with what you've done or you haven't done. It's who you are. It's who you are intrinsically. And everybody is intrinsically holy. And to get that, it's like the difficulty is just accepting that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you imagine? So right now, the way it is, I know in my religious background, I came up Baptist. We're born dirty little
Mm.
pieces of shit that are doomed for hell, like evil, wretched, and you deserve nothing. It's by the grace, Jesus came down and saved you. And other than that, you're filthy and you deserve hell forever in eternity. And it's like, man, like you tell kids that, and that perpetuates those dirty, filthy, wretched people. But what if you tell babies from the time, you're divine, you're created in God's image and you're beautiful and you're perfect and the way you are, and like that perpetuates that. So it's like, what is this mixed up world we're living in where we're telling kids when they come here that they're doomed for hell? You're born here, you're doomed for hell. Peace.
That's
You
what
know,
lets you let go of that victim mentality,
yeah,
is that knowledge that you're
right.
inherently did. That's what let me start
Yeah.
letting go of that. I was just so intent on holding on to that victim mentality and look at all these things that happened to me, and this is how I am now, and this is why I am how I am, and I can't change because I can't change what happens. But when you have that realization, that inherent divinity that's in you, that is you, that's moving through you, then it lets you start to let go of all that
Mhm.
negativity and start to move from, is for me, it was, I don't know who I am without that story.
Mhm.
And I'd rather have that old familiar story than
Mm.
the unknown of what am I without it. I think that lets you move from a fear-based questioning of that to a curiosity and an excitement. It's like, oh, what am I get to find that out now. So yeah.
A creation of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Yeah.
all of existence created me. Like, wow.
Right.
Thank you.
The key thing to me that I think is so important that gets missed is like to, I see us on a developmental journey, right? So then that reframes everything you've done. Like I've done so many things that I would like never do now,
Mhm.
right? But I had to do those things to learn, right? I had it's
Mhm.
like so it's like when you're a parent, you can see this pretty easily. Like I have a 1 year old now, so you can just see, and then Gio's on the call, who's in his 20s, so you can just see like there's this process of kids do stuff and like that that's going to have negative consequences, but they don't know it yet. So they have to experience it and then they learn, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that again, right? And like we're on that journey. To me, we're on that journey like infinitely, as long as we're human beings anyway, and it's not a bad thing. It's kind of what makes life fun is like, you try things, you experiment things. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try it this way instead, right? So it's not this like heavy thing anymore. It's just you're in a
Mhm.
process of development and you're growing and evolving, awakening in your consciousness.
Well said.
Yeah.
I've also heard that one really helpful thing to know when you're trying to stop a habit is instead of thinking of it as I'm going to stop this habit, instead you create new habits. Um,
Yeah.
and, and you just shift. That way you're not feeling like you're giving up something. You're actually just starting a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we 100% coach that way. It's never, oh,
Mhm.
stop, try to stop doing that. It's always like
Uh,
moving towards what you want to create as opposed to stopping something you don't want to do.
that's our theme this week, actually, is not like stopping something or like telling something to stop or no. It's actually like redirecting
Hmm.
Yeah.
and like pointing somebody in a better direction.
Hmm.
Yep. I think Wilson's got something profound to share.
Generally.
Oh my
We
gosh.
miss you.
Hey,
We
you
haven't seen
guys.
you here in a few weeks.
Oh, geez. I just want to say I'm super grateful to witness your transformation, Jacob, and a little lesser so, Jeff, but both of y'all are just an inspiration. And Jacob, you transmit a glee like in your reawakening that's infectious. It's a real gift. And so I just want to reflect that to you. And perhaps that's why we go through the challenges. But y'all really got me thinking. This is kind of deep, but about almost like the collective ego, because you know how this realm is described as duality, right? So we have God, which is only good, but also the idea of evil or his opposite. And so I was kind of getting these images of how that shadow is like inevitable in this realm and almost something that you have to pass through as just part of what Brian was kind of describing the process. But it's interesting to even think about that impersonally because I know I took my own shadow so personally, but in the same way, my divinity is a gift from God. The shadow that I move through is also some way impersonal or a collective karma as well. And so that's helpful in terms of lifting that all up to me, because yeah, most of the healers I know they've gone through the darkness, to witness that reawakening and learn what that is. So y'all just got me thinking about that in terms of illuminating that process, and you don't want to encourage it really because it's painful, but it's also understanding it, shining light on it, giving a hand to get out of it, recognizing how God is, lifting people out instantly all over the world all the time. And it's cool just everybody sharing their story of that in their relative ways. But grateful to y'all and yeah, interested in y'all's ideas about yeah, the collective shadow is something, it's a challenging thing and they say sometimes there's thousands of lifetimes, to go on this work, which is something hard to comprehend in terms of choosing like love over and over and over, um, which just seems like kind of what we do. But
So the question is about the dark forces and like
So,
what
not
so I,
about
really,
those?
not a question, but more just like a state of acceptance, I guess, that a lot of people are born kind of with those filters really thick,
Yeah.
and shining, just light on that whole process, I
Yeah.
suppose.
I,
Is,
I want to share, I've shared this, some of these people on the call have heard me share this already, but I want to share something related to what you just shared.
hmm,
So, I was watching this YouTube video, this, this Catholic priest who's an exorcist, right? So this isn't some like new age woo-woo guy. This is a very traditional
hmm,
guy. So, and he's talking about, um, the devil and demons, and he works with them like all the time. He's an exorcist. And he said, God created the demons and God created the devil. God created everything, right? So if God created everything, then he created the demons and the devils too. And he says, so God created the demons and God created the devils. In fact, I was reading something the other day, there's this whole story about how the demons are fallen angels,
hmm.
right? So then that would make sense. That would kind of collaborate with that. So, God created these demonic forces, and he said in most cases the people that he's working with are people that are actually really holy. And he said when people are getting like close to God, that's when the demons will usually like attack people because they don't want you getting close to God.
Well, that's kind of an interesting just
Like
plot to
yeah,
like
so like
shine light on.
if you're far from God, they don't need to do anything. It's
Right.
already taken care of.
Right,
But it's
right.
when you're getting close, they don't like that. So
Well,
that's when they come, right? So then he said the demons, God created the demons basically to strengthen you and fortify you in your commitment to God. That's why they're there. So there,
What an incredible opportunity. That's such a great reframe, rather
yeah,
than they're trying to kill you, because it appears like the demons are attempting to kill one. But I suppose in that process, and
that's another
Hawkins,
thing he said was interesting. He said they're almost like if you think of it like coding a program.
right.
He said they can only go so far. God programmed them to basically like test you and challenge you, but they're not allowed to go all the way. Basically, like God has to win in the end.
I think that's profound information and encouraging to the spiritual seeker or different people, because it does appear that I mean, Dr. Hawkins says that the ego does blindly kind of want to kill the spirit, or that's how like,
Yeah.
and so I think is not to like be scary, but like, of course, spirit can't die. So God, already has his cake and has already eaten it too. And that's what we are already. And yet, we're dealing with, this realm of duality where that force can seem to come. Anyway, I think it's beautiful to shine light on it, and I think that the journey towards light in this realm comes most profoundly, I suppose, through walking through that darkness, and that's certainly been a big part of my experience. So I just think it's cool that we're shining light on it in a neutral way, because I didn't really have that growing up. It was super polarized, and I didn't, understand that those aspects of the shadow actually work to strengthen us. Like you said, if we reframe it like that, then, like you said, Jeff, we can maybe love and accept all ourselves. Like, wow, I'm such an infinite being. I could create this shadowy, aspect to teach me, help me learn, and wake up. So it's beautiful information. I just honor y'all for, illuminating my mind in that way.
Come on, Gio,
Yeah.
unmic yourself and share your quote.
Share that scripture.
You want me to read it or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it.
Nice.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Anything else you want to add to the conversation?
No, I just think that yeah, I think like relating to that quote, I think that like no matter what you're going through, there's a way through it. And a lot of times it seems like that's not the case, but I feel like there's a part of us that is immaterial, that is a soul, that is a spirit, and that spirit is infinite. It's infinitely strong. It's able to endure anything. And one of the times in my life where I was going through, really hard depression and in high school I was really dealing with like really bad depression, even like suicidal ideation. Um, I I read this book called Mindset, and it was one of the best books I ever read because it basically changed my perspective. And um, sorry if I forget who it was, but somebody was talking about like a victim mentality, and basically what that book talks about is uh, not falling into a victim mentality, like basically having what's called like a growth mindset and realizing that your struggles don't define you, whether it's dealing with any type of addiction, like that addiction does not define you. You're not a X addict or a Y addict or a Z addict. You're a human being who's able to overcome, and you can define yourself as whatever you want. You're not defined by any struggles that happen in your life. You're not defined by the circumstances you were born into. Um, whatever you want to achieve in your life, it's simply recognizing that any hardships that you've had is there to strengthen you and to make you better. And I think that's the key shift with the people who let their hardships either destroy their life or make them into better people. Because like hardships can actually be a blessing in disguise. A lot of people don't realize that, but it really can be a blessing because like a lot of the people I've known who have been through really hard things, including myself, like those people are really capable of deeper love, deeper appreciation, just deeper connection with people. Something that like, not to say that people who haven't gone through anything, like there's something wrong with them, but I've just noticed that the people who have gone through things and they've overcome those, like they can just appreciate life more and like have a deeper connection, deeper relationship with other people. So I think that in itself is something really beautiful, because like I don't know any story, any book I've ever read where there isn't like, a plot, like there isn't like something bad that happens. Like a story where everything is perfect and it's all rainbows and butterflies is a boring story. Like there has to be a plot, there has to be some challenge that the main character goes through. Otherwise, it's like a boring book. So I think everyone, it's important to recognize that arc, that story arc is really what makes, I think, life like such a beautiful thing. Even if that hardship is there, I think it's something that is always possible to move through.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you, Gio.
And it's God's grace that brings those of us who have like really struggled and hit the rock bottom out, because everybody doesn't make it out to the other side. Some people, die here and still living in their suffering and their hell. And yeah, that makes me just even more grateful, and it's more of a blessing for me to be here on this side of it, because everybody's not everybody's not doesn't get to realize the other side.
By the way, Gio will be uh he will be at the 3-day retreat September, leading a
Nice.
little leading a little guided meditation for us
Nice.
again. It was a powerful one. Some of you guys were at the one we had at my place in
Yeah.
Virginia. So looking forward to that. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
I had a question. Hope it's not too late to ask it, but
Yeah, go ahead.
wanted to ask the guys, what, like in your experience, was a helpful thing that your parents did, or I guess it could be your friends, and what was not helpful? Like they always warn people not to enable those that are on drugs, making it easier for them to continue. I don't, what do you think? What in your experience was helpful and what wasn't helpful?
Yeah. I, I can go. So what was not helpful was, I know my dad's gonna rewatch this, but the constant preaching about, you shouldn't be drinking, you shouldn't be doing this, blah blah blah. Like I already knew that.
Mhm.
I knew that I wasn't ready to change, so nothing that he said was gonna change. If anything, it just like made a lot of resentment, I guess. Um, but what was helpful was the support from my parents. So I don't just mean like support, and they have supported me from day one in anything that I wanted to do. Um, and so when I started to get sober, I mean, they were there. They would come hang out with me because I didn't have a lot of friends anymore because I lost all of my friends because all my friends were drunk. So they would come hang out with me. We would go places, go hiking. I remember hiking with my dad, going just yard sailing and looking at antiques and just whatever. And that was extremely helpful to just have somebody to be around and hang out with. And then just always being at some point, my dad did stop preaching, and he's always been there to talk to, like man to man, with able to talk about anything type thing. And that was really helpful as well.
And can you think you can put into words what happened during the breath work, your first breath work? Because I mean, I was there, right? I was facilitating, so I
Yeah,
know it was super,
yeah.
super transformational, powerful. And
It was
how would you put it in
so
the words?
just the most loving like presence, I guess. It was like God was there, and it was just overwhelming like love, and I was bawling like uncontrollably, but like from a like joyful place, I guess. I don't know. It was just so much love
Yeah.
overwhelming me.
And like releasing the
And
old, like the old's
and
melting away.
really, yeah, releasing the old. Like I was getting downloads, at the time I didn't know what any of this stuff was, but that's what it was. Like this is okay. It's okay to let go of the old. I was at the time doing a lot of research about Christian non-duality, watching a lot of Marshall Davis actually, who was on this podcast a few weeks ago. And I was, internally not feeling the best just because of my Christian religion upbringing. And so I was like doubtful about what I was researching in that. And it was just like, it's okay. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to look at these things. It's okay. It's okay. And I love you. I love you. I love you. And it's just, yeah, it's so very powerful for me.
Beautiful.
Interesting. I didn't have I didn't have any support other than really strangers when I started coming off methadone. Everybody knew about it. I told my family, but I didn't get any support. What I got was, well, you need to get off that shit, and pretty much like doubt, like, yeah, we'll see. Like, we'll see if you get off of it. And that at first, I feel like hurt me. I came to the point where I wouldn't even talk to my dad because every time, even if I call and I went from 80 milligrams down to 70, it's somewhat somehow, some way putting me down, and like, that stuff's horrible, and just nonstop. But then I was in Brian's mastermind with 5 strangers and Brian, and I had support from these strangers who were believing that I could get off methadone, believing that I could do it. And that's really what helped me. And then I began to use the doubt from the family, the people that were, most that I was most familiar with. I started to use that as like fire to like, yeah, okay, well, you know, I'll show you. Like, just, well, I didn't even, I had to stop talking to everybody. And then the day came and, I was off. And um, so that really became a driving force. Um, so I don't know, I would say that, in a way helped all the discouragement. And, I was already had it decided, where I was going and what I was doing. So it didn't matter that they were negative or discouraging about it. The plans were already set.
Beautiful. I'm going to need to wrap up. This has been awesome. I feel like
Yeah.
really inspired and lit up and alive. And I know this is going to touch a lot of people that listen to this um, for the years to come. So, special thank you to Jeff and Jacob. Thanks to everybody for joining us live. Special guest there. Thank you, Gio. Dale Allen Hoffman is our special guest next week. He'll be giving us he'll be giving us whatever he wants to give us. He's a lot of fun. But one of the things I'm going to ask him about is the original Aramaic of certain Bible verses.
Nice.
So there may be a little debate between him and Pastor Mark. We'll see how that unfolds. And with that, see you later.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
You guys.
thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for
Yeah,
sharing.
thank you.